Speedrunning is brutal. It takes an insane amount of precision and tons of practice, and still, you're gonna fail a lot. Most runners, they spend months and sometimes even years mastering a single game, but in this series, I don't have that kind of time. Welcome to Tutorialpercent, the show where I give myself 7 days to learn a speed or challenge run from scratch. Each episode, I will take on a new game, study the route, grind the tech, and try to pull off a full run by the end of the week. I will never know how it ends, but at least I know where it starts. Right here. Now, Super Mario 64 isn't just any classic, it is the classic. A monolith that helped to define the modern speedrunning scene. There are literally dozens of categories, thousands of runners, and millions of attempts. And for over 2 decades, people have been breaking this game apart. And yet, it still holds secrets. I gave myself 7 days to learn the full speedrun of Super Mario 64. Specifically, the 16-star category. In just 7 days, I went from slipping off of platforms to clipping through walls, chasing rabbits, and long jumping through staircases. But before we talk speedruns, let's rewind and take a look at how normal people beat Super Mario 64. You know, like actual human beings. So let me explain. Normally you beat Super Mario 64 by gathering stars and progressing through Peach's castle to unlock these bigger star doors. Each big star door opens a new part of the castle, and with every new area, you gain access to more courses, more stars, and tougher challenges. Now when you start out in the game, you will start outside, and after crossing the bridge to the castle, you will reach the main entrance. The first big star door is also located here on the main floor of the castle. You will need a total of 8 stars to open it, and behind it lies your first real challenge. It is Bowser in the Dark World. A tough platforming level that ends in a fight against Bowser. Beat him and you will get a key to unlock the castle basement. Down in the basement you will find another big star door. This one, however, needs 30 stars to open. This star door eventually leads into Dire Docks, and beyond that Bowser in the Fire Sea. Another platformer that leads into the second Bowser battle. Win this fight and you will earn the key to the upper floors that pave the way to some of the more difficult stages. At the top of the castle there is yet another big star door, and this one needs 50 stars to open. It will then open the final set of stages, including Tick-Tock Clock and Rainbow Ride, some of the toughest levels in the game. Climb to the top of this section and you will face one last gate. This gate, however, isn't locked, but followed by a mysterious staircase that will loop endlessly unless you have 70 stars. Once you've gathered enough, the stairs will reveal the path to Bowser in the Sky, the final platforming challenge followed by the final fight against Bowser. Defeat him here and you will rescue Princess Peach for good. The speedrun, however, skips most of Mario 64. 16 stars to collect and a handful of tricks to learn, and I have only 1 week to figure it all out. Now, day 1 was all about getting my bearings. Before I ever touched the controller, I went full student mode like I was studying for an exam. I watched top level runs, paused and replayed countless of tutorials, and mapped out every trick and star I would need to collect. The tutorial video I mainly reference to in this run is a video by Squeaks that packs all you need to know into a nice 33-minute long video. Even though the video is 4 years old at this point, it still holds up well enough for this challenge to work out. One thing to note though, the 16-star route I was going to take avoids LBLJs, short for Lobby Backwards Long Jump, one of the hardest tricks to learn. Given the short amount of time that I had, I figured to go with this slightly safer route, which goes as follows. We start up the game and on the bridge to the castle, we skip Lucky 2's intro cutscene by carefully jumping on the very left side of the bridge railing, saving about 8 seconds. We then head into Bob-omb Battlefield on the first floor of the castle for a bomb clip. A glitch to grab a quick star through a gate that normally opens up after ground pounding the post that the chain chomp is chained to 3 times. Doing it, however, with a bomb clip saves around 12 seconds. After this, we head into Whomp's Fortress to perform a trick called Cannonless. After this, we grab some more simple stars using fast movement and clean jumps. We then visit Cool Mountain. We jump straight down on the left side after starting the stage to then slowly tilt backwards and perform a kick to land on the platform below, where we will then wall kick and jump up to the star. The other star here is collected by grabbing the penguin and sliding off of a certain set of ramps to eventually land right next to Mama Penguin, who will give us the second star. In total, we have already collected half of the stars needed at this point. 1 in Battlefield, 5 in Whomps, and another 2 in Cool. Now with 8 stars collected, we can enter the first Bowser stage. We can then collect the red coins for another star, defeat Bowser, and get the basement key. I can already hear you thinking that collecting the red coins is considered difficult, and already quite advanced for a beginner to learn. But hey, I didn't know that at this point. It was only later that I had to find out the hard way. Now in the basement of the castle we grab a few more stars, namely 2 from Shifting Sandland, 1 from Little Lava and 1 from the toad in front of Hazy Maze Cave, where we then get the final 2 stars. We now go back a room and grab Mips, the bunny, and use him to clip through 2 sets of doors. Including the star door in the basement, you're normally not supposed to pass without 30 stars. Now before being able to access the Bowser level, we have to grab 1 more star in Dire Docks. This will also unlock the second Bowser stage. We then beat Bowser in the Fire Sea and head upstairs. Here we have to use backwards long jumps past the never-ending staircase and finally meet Bowser in the sky. And then it's done. After a couple of hours, I had all of the notes, tutorial videos and everything that I felt I needed to complete this run. I knew the route at this point, I understood what I needed to do, but then I actually launched the game and took control of Mario. It was like I'd never played this game before. Mario simply didn't move, he slid. And as soon as I pulled the controller back, he didn't stop, he drifted. It felt like he was skating across a sheet of buttered glass. Having played the game as a kid, I remembered Super Mario 64 being tight, snappy and responsive. But what I got was pure chaos in a red head. Therefore, most of day 1 was not spent practicing speedrun tech. It was simply me relearning the basics. Long jumps, side flips, back flips, and even the camera control. Falling off of ledges, missing jumps and running in circles were only a cause of me not mastering the movement yet. At this point, I didn't even attempt the bomb clip, even though it was the first star in the run. Instead, I spent the day wrestling with the controls. I was trying to feel connected to Mario again. That evening, I decided, however, to take a different approach. No tricks, no pressure, I just wanted to see if I could slowly and carefully collect the stars needed to reach the first Bowser level. I literally moved like I was defusing a bomb. It surely wasn't pretty and it definitely wasn't fast, but by the end of it, I had enough stars to unlock the door. And with that small victory, Little Key called it a night. Day 1 was over. Day 2, however, was when I really started to get my hands dirty. I had the full route mapped out and trying to do everything at once was kinda overwhelming. So instead, I broke it down. I focused on 1 star at a time. I was entering a level, learning the setup and understanding the movement, and then repeat it until it didn't feel like total guesswork anymore. In Bob-omb's Battlefield, I was still avoiding bomb clip though. Even after watching countless of tutorials, it still looked way too chaotic. So I played it safe. I went for the slower and more consistent routes, stuff that felt doable at my skill level. But even the easy routes weren't exactly relaxing. Tricks that looked simple in speedruns suddenly felt like threading a needle on a roller coaster. Let's take Cannonless as an example. It's actually the second major trick that I had to learn in the 16-star category. In Whomp's Fortress, the star Blast Away the Wall is normally collected by unlocking a cannon, firing Mario into a corner of a wall, and breaking it open to reveal the star. Eventually though, players discovered that you could skip the cannon entirely by clipping into the star's hitbox from behind, using a precise jump near the wall. At first, this was done by trial and error, just running at the wall and hoping for the best. But then a speedrunner named Sockfolder found a consistent method using a specific camera angle and positioning. This will also be the setup I will be using during my runs, as it's a relatively safe method of acquiring this star. All in all, day 2 was not going as smooth as I thought. That is, until I stumbled across something that changed everything. The Super Mario 64 practice ROM. This ROM literally let me reset and reload specific stars or sections with the tap of a button. Now, for anyone unfamiliar, the practice ROM is a modified version of the game built specifically for speedrunners. It adds tools that let you jump to specific levels, load stars instantly, and even reset tricky sections on command. Kinda like custom checkpoints. It doesn't change how the game plays, but it makes practicing way more efficient. Instead of spending 5 minutes getting back to 1 star, I could be retrying the same star 5 times in 1 minute. Suddenly, practicing single stars became 10 times more efficient, and if I messed up, I could instantly try again and again and again. It turned the game from a test of patience into a tight feedback loop. But later that evening, I shifted focus yet again. Instead of grinding for full stars, I decided to learn the actual tricks I needed to perform in the run. So first off, I started with Lakitu skip, trying to consistently jump past him without ever losing a second to the intro cutscene. See, normally when you start the game, on the bridge to the castle, a cutscene will play with Lakitu flying in to explain the camera controls. But with a precise jump and angle at the castle bridge, you can skip the trigger zone entirely. It is only a small trick, but it sets the pace for the whole run. After that, I moved on to refining my movement in Worm's Fortress. I was practicing wall kicks, edge grabs and camera flicks, trying to make the run feel smooth instead of desperate. After that, I dropped into Cool Mountain to practice, including that icy penguin slide and the wall kick jump that never seemed to cooperate. It was then on to shifting Sandland, home to a deceptively simple star that is easy to mess up if you panic or misjudge your jump onto Klepto, the bird that is actually carrying the star through the air. Now, if you use a well-timed long jump from the pillar to bounce off of the Shy Guy, then with precise timing, you jump into Klepto mid-flight, you can actually trigger the star to spawn within 12 seconds of starting the stage. All of that was pretty tiring, and by the end of the night, I wasn't fast, I wasn't clean, but I was starting to see the shape of the full run, and that gave me just enough confidence to keep on going. Now, day 3 started off pretty hopeful. I had momentum from the night before, and I decided to spend the morning exploring some of the tricks that I hadn't touched yet. I even gave Mip's clip a try, grabbing the bunny in the basement, lining it up with the door, and slowly figuring out the timing to face Mario right through it. At first, it literally felt impossible, but after a few dozen of tries, I started to see how it worked. The moment when you pop through the door for the first time feels illegal in the best way possible. Then I gave the big trick of the run a shot, BLJ, the backwards long jump. Mario's physics-breaking super move. The trick that lets you fly up staircases by spamming the A button right after a long jump in reverse. And when I finally landed one, even just one, it was like unlocking a secret part of the game. I still couldn't do it consistently yet, but for the first try, it felt like a win. So by the afternoon, I was feeling pretty confident. I figured like, alright, maybe I'm ready. Let's try to pull off a full run, no matter how long it takes. But then, I got to Bowser in the Dark World, and that stage absolutely humbled me. Everything fell apart. Jumps I thought that I had down, I missed. I fell off of platforms and misjudged the fire. I bumped into walls, and when I finally made it to Bowser, I messed up the throw. It was like I was stuck in an endless loop, over and over. So after failing for a while, I stepped away from the screen. I needed to cool off, I grabbed my cell phone and called a good friend on Discord, just to vent. I told him that I was frustrated at this point, that maybe I wasn't cut out for this. He simply didn't sugarcoat it and told me something that stuck. He said, "Speedrunning is about overcoming yourself. How do you think that all of these other runners started out? You won't get better by quitting. You will only get better by continuing. And that night, I laid in bed genuinely unsure if I ever wanted to keep on going. Tutorialpercent, my show, seemed much more appealing to actually watch it myself instead of creating it. But deep down, I still wasn't ready to stop. So the next morning, I woke up, still unsure of where I stood. The frustration from Bowser 1 was still fresh in my mind. But as I sat down silently at my desk, my eyes landed on it. Project 64. It was just sitting there, staring at me, mocking me or maybe waiting for me to decide. For a few moments I hesitated, mouse hovering over the icon. I thought about quitting, about switching to a different game. Maybe just call this a learning experience and move on. But I decided to give it one more shot. Just today.
It's me, Mario!
I decided for the first time to finally confront a trick that I'd been dodging for days. Bomb clip. So I entered the bomb battlefield, set it up, and to my complete surprise, I hit it. 10 minutes of practicing and I landed the trick. I couldn't believe it. The moment, the grab, the bomb pushing me towards the gate, it all lined up. It was quite ugly, but it worked. That one moment lit a fire under me. So after that, I moved on to Bowser in the Dark World, fully expecting it to humble me again. But this time, I didn't die. I mean, there were no fancy tricks and my movement still was rough, but the pieces were starting to fall into place. At that point, I told myself, let's go for it. Let's try another full run without quitting this time. It wasn't clean, I missed some tricks, I fell off the map, but I didn't quit. And for the first time, I finished a full run. Final time, 58 minutes, just under an hour. At least, that's what the recording told me on OBS. At this point, I had still not tried to time my runs properly with LiveSplit. But I noticed something important. There was potential. And if I cleaned up my run and removed the hesitation, if I stopped second guessing, maybe a sub 40 or even a sub 30 would be possible. And with day 4 coming to an end, my goal was set. Complete a sub 40 run tomorrow. Now by day 5, the timing was starting to feel tight. I had just a few days left and I knew that if I wanted to have any chance at hitting a sub 40, I couldn't just hope for improvement. I had to force it somehow. So that morning I hit the lab again. No full runs, just raw drill work. For hours straight, solving the biggest problems in my run. So I started with bomb clip, drilling the movement again and again until I could land it at least somewhat consistently. Then I moved on to Bowser 1. Although not the movement that most runners use, quick enough for this challenge. I also took some time to grind the trickier star in the run, namely the one in Shifting Sandland, the one where you grab the star from Klepto. It is all about rhythm and positioning. You double jump at the start, you roll out, dive, run on top of the stone pillar, long jump to bounce off of the Shy Guy, and then time your movement just right to meet him mid-air and snatch the star right from his claws. I missed it a lot at first. I overshot the jump, I slipped into the quicksand, but once I locked in, it started to feel clean and actually kinda satisfying. Now Bowser 2 was doable and quite a bit easier than Bowser 1. The only thing here to practice was my movement. After that, I also gave Bowser 3 a shot. It was the final gauntlet and definitely a very important part of the run. But Bowser 3 mainly consisted of tight movement and the infamous triple Bowser throws at the end. After that, I circled back to Worm's Fortress. Every jump, every angle and every star grab, I became tighter, cleaner and sharper. So far, day 5 was kinda repetitive, but at least it seemed to work. That evening, after hours of drilling and watching my own recordings, it was time to make it official. So I downloaded and set up LiveSplit, the timing software used in almost every speedrun. It lets you set your own split times for each part of the run, so I configured it, double checked my hotkeys, took a breath, and then hit start. So in the next couple of runs, I managed to bring my time down from 58 minutes to 47 minutes and 24 seconds. It was a clear improvement. Cleaner movement, fewer mistakes, and it all felt like progress to me. So at that point, I called it a night, thinking that tomorrow I would reach that sub 40 run. Lying in bed, however, I realized that I wasn't too satisfied with the run. So, with me not being able to sleep, I got back up, and in the middle of the night, I got to set up proper splits in LiveSplit. So I ran it again. And then it happened. I had landed a 33 minute and 53 second run, an almost 14-minute improvement. It felt incredible. The spike of nerves after Bowser 1, yeah, that's usually when the death started happening. But now, the biggest time save simply came from not dying. Especially in Bowser in the Dark World and Bowser in the Sky. Just staying alive made all the difference. And with that, I was satisfied. Day 5 was over. Well, technically, it was already day 6, but at least it was worth it. Lying in bed that night, I couldn't stop thinking about this run. There were still mistakes, small ones and obvious ones, but if I could pull it all together, sub 30 wasn't just a dream anymore. It had to be possible. So I closed my eyes, and tomorrow I would find out. Now day 6 was supposed to be the day. No more trick practice, no more theory. This day was going to be fully dedicated to completing runs. Back to back to back. But then, life hit. Right in the middle of the 7-day challenge, I had something already locked in real life. A 5-day trip to Spain. I knew that this was planned, but now that I was just seeing some progress, I feared to lose my muscle memory during this 5-day window. 5 days where the dream of sub 30 was starting to slip away. Therefore, I did the only thing that I could think of. I packed my controller, loaded up my tablet with an N64 emulator, and as I had a 3-hour flight before me, committed to practicing. 30,000 feet in the air. Yes, I was that guy practicing on the airplane. Cramped seat, terrible posture, weird stares from the guy next to me, and was it efficient? Absolutely not. Was it ridiculous? Also yes. But I simply called it dedication. For 3 hours I sat on that budget flight grinding Mario 64 runs while flying over half of Europe. It wasn't perfect, but it kept my hands warm and my mind focused. And when I got back home, day 7 was all that remained. Sub 30 or nothing. No more learning, no more watching runs or practicing strats. There was just one thing left to do, and that was execute. I spent the whole day running attempts over and over, resetting, repeating, hoping that something would click. And eventually, I got very close. 30 minutes and 25 seconds. It felt good, but not good enough. I knew that I had more in me. So I told myself, one more. Just one more run. And on that run, something changed. Lucky to skip, I simply nailed it. When it came to bomb clip, that was clean. The one that used to stress me out, but it was now almost automatic. Cannonless, I also hit it first try. A little slow on the setup, but no big deal. I was off to a solid start. Then came Cool Cool Mountain. The wall kicks gave me some trouble, but nothing run ending. Bowser 1 was smooth. Shifting Sandland, there was not a single failure. In Little Lava Land, the movement wasn't super clean, and I could have shaved some time off there. But it still got the job done. Hazy Maze Cave handed me one death. Unlucky, but I kept my head in, since the pace was so good. Now for Mip's clip, that was surprisingly fast. That one can go either way, but this time it cooperated. Then came Bowser 2. That was solid. There were no major mistakes, although I was not hitting optimized movement yet, just clean enough to keep the run alive. And then, almost at the very end, the BLJs. They finally worked. There were no awkward angles and no stalling, just boom through the doors. Final Bowser level, there were no deaths and no panic. Just focus, execution, and then finally, the final throw. It was like everything finally came together. And when I hit that final Bowser throw, the timer stopped at 28 minutes and 22 seconds. I simply just sat there. I was staring. I actually did it. 7 days ago, I had no idea what I was doing. And now I had a full 16-star run that I was proud of. However, we were still 3 hours away from ending the day. And I knew that meant at least 5 or 6 more solid attempts. But then, I learned something that kinda blew my mind. Up to this point, I had been playing on the PAL version of Super Mario 64. That was also the version I grew up with. The one that seemingly ran at 25 frames a second. And here's the thing, that frame rate actually makes everything slower. Mario's movement, the animations, even how fast text boxes clear. It all lags just slightly behind the NTSC versions. In speedrunning, that matters a lot. Even if you execute perfectly, you're already at a disadvantage just because of the version you're playing. So then I found out about the Japanese NTSC version, which simply runs at 30 FPS and has therefore shorter cutscenes, faster text, and a bunch of small tweaks that could save time across the whole run. It does not have Mario yelling Mamma Mia when he dies or saying things during the Bowser throws, but more importantly, it simply runs faster. So now I was sitting here with a choice. I could either stick with what I know or switch ROMs, completely change my timing on the tricks and try to squeeze out an even better run before the clock hit midnight. But there was one more thing that I hadn't accounted for. Another detail that up until now I had completely overlooked. The timing rules for emulator runs. All this time I had been starting my timer on the file select screen, but learning the official timing started the moment the game boots up. That means when the logo pops up, the timer should already be at 1.3 seconds, accounting for the load times of the N64. Which meant that, yeah, I had been starting my timer early this whole time. Roughly 7 seconds early of every run that I had timed. So I made the adjustment, loaded the Japanese version, and went back in. Switching to the Japanese version was a gamble, but surprisingly, it didn't take me that long to adjust. The movement felt tighter and snappier, and after just a bit of practice, I found myself hitting tricks with more consistency as this version felt a lot more responsive. And before I knew it, boom, 26 minutes and 22 seconds. Just like that, I had already crushed my previous PB, and that is when it hit me. There is still time left, 1 hour and 50 minutes to be exact. So that is when I set myself a new goal. I was so close, so I could achieve a sub 25. And that is also when things got frustrating. Whomp's Fortress became my wall. Because of the version switch, the timing for wall kicks and triple jumps felt completely different. And suddenly, these couple of stars I used to hit cleanly became a reset machine. I spent a lot of time doing nothing but resetting there. Over and over again. But I wasn't quitting. This was it. This was the final push. And then this run happened. 24 minutes and 59 seconds with 50 minutes left on day 7. I achieved the sub 25, but it was just 1 second under. And depending on how the timing would go, it could very well be above. So I wanted to go even lower. Come on. There was still time left. And this time I was focused. And my nerves went through the roof. No major mistakes. Clean BLJs. No deaths. Solid Bowser fights. I was dialed in. And when that timer finally stopped, "23 minutes and 1 second. That was it. At that point, there was the only thing left to do to make this run official, and that was to submit it to speedrun.com. But I didn't want to flood my main channel with raw, unedited VODs of these runs. especially ones that don't reflect the energy or editing of the Tutorialpercent series. So what I did was create a second YouTube channel, dedicated to solely uploading my full speedrun attempts for verification and archiving purposes. This will also be where all the real-time runs will live on. You can find the link down below if you are interested. So, that was it. And the wildest part of all of this? I was a complete newbie 7 days ago. I had never learned the speedrun of this game before, never timed a run, never practiced skips or memorized any of these strats. I didn't know how to execute BLJs and I didn't know about the version differences. I even didn't know about the timing rules. But just in 1 week, I went from nothing to a verified 2301 in Super Mario 64 16 star. I failed a lot, I reset more times than I can count, but I kept on going. And I proved to myself, and maybe to anyone watching, you don't need years of experience to start. You just need to set yourself a goal. And this is exactly what Tutorialpercent is all about. 1 game, 1 week, and 1 run. And this video, this was just the beginning. Now if you enjoyed watching this challenge, or if you just want to see how far that someone can push a speedrun in just 7 days, drop a like, leave a comment and subscribe to follow the Tutorialpercent journey. I've got more games coming and more runs to learn and way more fails to embarrass myself with. If you're into that, you're in the right place. See you in the next one.